When I first met Caroline, I knew almost immediately that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. She was intelligent, kind, and shared my sense of humor, which was dry and sarcastic. We both had solid careers and shared a similar vision for our future together. It wasn't long before I proposed, and she said yes. Our engagement was a whirlwind of excitement and planning, and before we knew it, we were married and ready to embark on our new life together as a married couple. Caroline came from a wealthy family. Her parents, David and Linda, owned a successful business and lived in a sprawling suburban house. During the wedding planning, they had generously offered to cover many expenses, insisting that their daughter deserved the best on her special day. At the time, I viewed their generosity as an expression of love and support. I had no reason to doubt their intentions. I felt blessed to be marrying into such a caring family. After the honeymoon, Caroline and I moved into a modest apartment downtown. I had been saving for years and was thrilled when I could finally purchase our new home. It wasn't lavish, but it was ours. It felt right. We began our lives as newlyweds with enthusiasm and dreams of a bright future. I was excited about taking on this new challenge in our lives. Caroline was also content, and we were both eager to make our little place our own. That's when things began to get complicated. Almost immediately after we returned from our honeymoon, David and Linda began visiting our apartment. Initially, it was under the pretense of helping us settle in, but it soon became clear they had other motives. They began bringing up suggestions about our finances in casual conversations, phrasing them as helpful advice. They suggested we should buy a bigger house in a more upscale neighborhood, even offering to cover the down payment as a wedding gift. At first, I thought it was a kind gesture and considered it briefly, but I started to notice the pattern in their behavior. I politely declined their offer, explaining that we wanted to build our life together independently. Caroline agreed, although I could sense her reluctance. She adored her parents and often had a hard time saying no to them. I assured her that we were more than capable of managing on our own, and she eventually agreed. We decided to stick to our original plan and live within our means. However, David and Linda were not easily dissuaded. They began showing up unannounced, bringing expensive furniture and decorations for our apartment. It was as if they were trying to recreate the luxurious home Caroline had grown up in. While I appreciated the gifts, I felt uncomfortable with their constant interference. Each time I voiced my concerns to Caroline, she brushed them off, insisting they just wanted to help. I tried to set boundaries by gently reminding them that we wanted to make our own decisions about our home, but they always had a way of making me feel like I was being ungrateful. Linda would give me a disappointed look, while David would make offhand comments about how young couples often struggled to make it on their own. It was frustrating, but I tried to remain patient for Caroline's sake. The situation took a turn for the worse when David approached me with a business proposal. He suggested that I invest in his company, promising substantial returns that would secure our financial future. He even hinted that, with my involvement, Caroline and I could eventually take over the business. On paper, it sounded like a fantastic opportunity, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there were strings attached. I politely declined his offer, explaining that I wanted to focus on my own career and build something independently. David's reaction was unexpected. He seemed genuinely hurt and a little offended. He reminded me of all they had done for us and insinuated that I was being stubborn by refusing his offer. It was the first time I felt the weight of their expectations bearing down on me. It wasn't just about generosity, it was about control. After that conversation, I realized I needed to have a serious talk with Caroline. We sat down one evening after dinner and I laid out all my concerns. I explained how I felt like her parents were trying to dictate our life through their financial interventions. I told her about David's business proposal and how uncomfortable it had made me. Caroline listened quietly, and I could tell she was processing everything. To my relief, she admitted that she had noticed her parents' behavior too. She told me she had always felt obligated to accept their help because they had supported her throughout her life. However, she also understood my point of view and agreed that we needed to assert our independence as a couple. We both wanted to build our life on our own terms, free from the influence of her parents. With a newfound determination, we decided to have an open and honest conversation with David and Linda. We invited them over for dinner one evening, determined to set some boundaries. After the meal, we sat in the living room and addressed the issue head-on. I expressed my gratitude for their generosity, but explained that we wanted to establish our own path as a couple. Caroline joined in, explaining that while she appreciated their support, we needed to make our own decisions, even if it meant making mistakes along the way. She assured them that we were grateful for their love and guidance, but emphasized that our independence was important to us. To our surprise, David and Linda took it better than we had anticipated. While they were initially a bit defensive, they eventually acknowledged that their intentions might have been a bit overbearing. Linda admitted she had trouble letting go, especially since Caroline was their only child. David nodded in agreement, saying he just wanted to ensure our happiness and security. It was a turning point in our relationship with them. We agreed to a compromise where they would respect our boundaries and we would seek their advice when needed. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for the health of our marriage. We wanted to build a relationship with them that was based on mutual respect and understanding rather than dependency. As time passed, things began to improve. David and Linda respected our space, and we found a new balance in our relationship with them. Caroline and I continued to build our life together, making decisions that were best for us as a couple. It wasn't always smooth sailing, but we learned to navigate the challenges together, stronger and more united than before. Despite the resolution we reached with her parents, Caroline began to feel torn between her loyalty to them and her commitment to our marriage. She was used to relying on them, and my insistence on setting boundaries brought underlying tensions to the surface. One evening, after a particularly tense phone call with her mother, Caroline broke down in tears. She confessed that she felt caught in the middle, torn between her love for me and her obligation to her family. We argued over the situation. I reminded her that we had agreed to move forward as a unit, but she felt like I was making her choose sides. In frustration, Caroline packed an overnight bag and said she needed space to think, leaving to stay at a friend's house. Caroline's departure was a wake-up call for both of us. During our time apart, I realized that while I had been focused on establishing boundaries, I might have underestimated the emotional toll it took on her. I had assumed that we were on the same page without considering the depth of her conflict. She was trying to navigate a difficult situation, and I needed to be more understanding of her position. Meanwhile, Caroline spent time reflecting on what she truly wanted in our marriage. After a few days, she returned home, and we had a long, heartfelt conversation about our priorities and how to balance our family's dynamics with our own needs. We agreed to approach the situation as a team, acknowledging that open communication and empathy were crucial to strengthening our relationship. With renewed understanding, we both promised to support each other through the challenges ahead, unified in our desire to build a future together on our own terms. Looking back, I realized that navigating family dynamics is never easy, especially when there are financial ties involved. It's important to communicate openly and set boundaries that prioritize the health of your relationship. Caroline and I learned that while family support is invaluable, it's equally important to build a life that reflects our own values and aspirations. In the end, we grew closer as a couple and developed a deeper understanding of each other and our families. Our experience taught us that love and respect should be at the core of every relationship, and that sometimes saying no is the best way to preserve your independence and protect what truly matters. While David and Linda's intentions were rooted in love, we were able to find a balance that respected both our need for independence and their desire to help. It's a lesson I carry with me, reminding me that every relationship requires effort, compromise, and, most importantly, the courage to stand up for what you believe in.